So typically when we think of the theory of evolution, we tend to associate it with a gentleman named Charles Darwin. This Darwin dude was a guy, sailed around on a boat, looked at some organisms, and was like, yo, organisms be changing over time. That's facts. And then he wrote a paper / book on it called The Origin of Species, and then he was a wuss and didn't publish it for years. Until some other dude came along and was like, yo, Chuck, buddy, look at this theory I got. I'm about to publish this paper, but I think you'll like it, and I want you to read it first. And go, oh, Chuck, boy, I read through this guy's paper, and it was like, damn, he figured out the same thing I did, and he's not a wuss, and he's going to publish it. Shoot. And that was Charles Darwin. And he actually never used the term evolution in his writings on origins of species. Right? He used the phrase descent with modification, which is actually a really clean phrase that encapsulates the process of evolution as a byproduct of natural selection. And so one of the important aspects of evolution that we have to keep in mind, and that people often tend to neglect in their casual study of the theory, is that evolution only works with traits that are already available. Right? Natural selection only works with the qualities that the organisms already have. It does not create new qualities. It only selects for the qualities that are better fit for the environment. Right? And so this is why we as humans don't fly or have laser eyes, and we will never have laser eyes because we don't have the mechanical structures to develop laser eyes. It's just not there. It's not in the cards for us, right? And so because we only ever change the things that we have to be a little bit better, we can track the course of evolution through conserved traits. And so organisms with common ancestors will have what are called homologous traits. They are traits that are derived from the same origin, and they have the same general structures, even if they have different functions. And so if we look at the forearm of animals, it is very easy to see this commonality, this shared descent, okay? This descent with modification. So we have the arm of a human, the arm of a cat, the arm of a whale, and the arm of a bat, okay? And if we think about the functions of each of these arms, they're vastly different, right? The human arm is doing this, right? One of the most important things the human arm does that we tend to overlook, which is actually super important for the course of our development, is that we throw stuff. Right? We throw things. Okay? And so this is a little bit of a sidetrack, but you know what? I haven't sidetracked in a while, so I'm going to sidetrack. Maybe I won't even call this one a quick vid. Maybe I'll just call this one a video. Okay? And so there's a very prevalent theory on the human intellectual development through the course of evolution, that part of the reason that we got the big cool brains that we have that can do all the problem solving that we can do is because our brains evolved to throw things, right? And the calculations that our brain has to do in order to accurately throw different things at different speeds, to hit different things, moving different speeds, okay, is actually really complex, right? And so if you think about like throwing a small rock, right, trying to hit a bird with a small rock for food versus throwing a spear at a mammoth, right? Very different calculations that have to be achieved. Right? And our brain, right, through natural selection, humans who could calculate throwing did better. Right? So that's one theory about the evolution of human intellect that has to do with our arms. Anyways, sidetrack off. Okay, back to here. Kitty arms are for walking, and most importantly, for kneading bread. Right? Need. Kitty arms. Okay? Whale arms are for swimming, right? Swim, 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 swim. And bat arms are for flying, right? For very different functions. But if we look at the bone structure of all of these mammalian arms, okay, we can see that we all have the same bone sets. Okay, so vastly different functions, very same bone sets. Okay, so you can see here it's color-coded. Blue bones, blue bones, blue bones, blue bones are all the same bones for all the organisms. They've taken on different forms, right, in order to achieve the different function because shape determines function, right? But the structure is the same structure. Okay? Purple is the same purple, the orange is the same orange. Okay? And so you see this conserved trait throughout organisms with a common ancestor. Okay? Because they can't just like instantaneously just get a flipper fin if you're a whale. Right? It needs to be built off of something that already exists. Whereas if you look at this picture, right, this is a fish's fin structure. Okay? Right? This bone structure is not at all akin to a whale's fin structure. So even though they do the same thing, right, these are both for swimming, their structures are vastly different. Right? So that's homologous traits, the conservation of the same trait modified for different uses. Okay. Now, not all traits are physical. Right? These don't have to be arm shapes. Okay? A lot of the traits that we look at are molecular in nature. Right? And so the way that we do DNA synthesis, right? The way that we do transcription, translation, the way that we digest food, right? The stomach acid that we have. Right? These can be conserved traits as well. Right? The way our mitochondria function. DNA, right, in genes, okay, so shared genes are an extraordinarily useful numeric number-based data set in support of evolution, right? And so we can look at a gene, and so maybe it's gene for hair, right? And so we have hair genes in humans, we have fur genes in cats, right? So the genes that code for the same things are going to be very similar, and the cats will be a little bit different. More importantly, you can look at genes, or rather DNA that doesn't code for anything at all, right? And you can look to see what strands of nonsense DNA, non-coding DNA, are the same between organisms, right? And so if I take a monkey that's closely related to us, and I look at gene 147, and I go upstream 7 lengths to this non-coding region, right? It's just this random region that doesn't do anything in the DNA, so it doesn't matter. We might have the same exact region of non-coding DNA as the monkey. And there's no natural reason to have that same code. It's not doing anything, right? And so the fact that we have this same code implies that we got it from our same ancestor, and it's just passed on, right? And so over the course of generations, some mutations might have accumulated within that code, and because it doesn't code for anything, those mutations can stay. Right? And so we can use the buildup of those mutations as a type of evolutionary clock, right? And so if I have a monkey that is 7 ancestors removed from us and a monkey that is 5 ancestors removed from us, the monkey with 5 ancestors removal will have less mutations from us than the monkey with 7, right? And so we will be more genetically similar to the monkey with 5 ancestors between us than the monkey with 7. Because there's been more evolutionary time to accumulate those changes. Very cool stuff, very fun stuff. Gets me going. All right. And yeah, again, the whole point of this particular section was to emphasize that new traits do not just spontaneously appear. Right? And so even though it would be super advantageous for us to sprout angel wings and be able to fly around the planet, right? Because then we could reduce global warming. Can't do that because we don't have the structures for natural selection to select upon. So yeah, descent with modification. Bye.